Ukrainian President Zelensky and U.S. President Trump held a surprise meeting at a special occasion, Pope Francis' funeral. Attention is being paid to what kind of signal it will be for bilateral relations and discussions on ending the war.
On the 26th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and U.S. President Donald Trump held an informal meeting for about 15 minutes ahead of Pope Francis's funeral at the Vatican. A spokesperson for President Zelensky said, "It was a short but meaningful conversation, and the two leaders plan to meet again on the same day." President Zelensky said on social media, "It was a good meeting. I look forward to the results of everything discussed. And I called for a complete and unconditional ceasefire, a credible peace to protect the lives of our people, and to prevent another war from breaking out." Zelensky added that this meeting could be a historic meeting, and thanked President Trump. The White House also confirmed the meeting, saying it was very productive, but said the specific details of the discussions would be disclosed later. The Ukrainian presidential office released a photo of President Trump and President Zelensky sitting alone in St. Peter's Cathedral. The photo shows only the two leaders without any other attendees, giving us an idea of the gravity of this meeting. In addition, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron talking with Trump and Zelensky were additionally released. The French presidential office also evaluated the meeting that day as a very positive atmosphere. In particular, the UK and France are leading the way to Ukraine's post-war security through an informal consultative body called the Coalition of the Willing. And there is analysis that this meeting could also affect the direction of cooperation among major European countries. Meanwhile, this meeting was the first face-to-face meeting since the clash between the two leaders at the White House in late February. At the time, President Trump criticized President Zelensky for gambling on World War III, and Zelensky also strongly objected. This tense scene was broadcast live and shocked the world. It is also noteworthy that this meeting took place while President Trump was pressuring Ukraine to accept a ceasefire plan. Immediately after arriving in Rome, President Trump posted on social media that Ukraine and Russia are very close to an agreement, and urged that negotiations should be concluded at the highest level. Recently, it was reported that the United States proposed a ceasefire plan that included the de facto recognition of the Crimean Peninsula and eastern Ukraine, which were occupied by Russia, as Russian territory, and that Ukraine should give up its NATO membership. However, the Ukrainian side strongly opposed it, saying, "We will never accept a freeze on war disguised as peace." Yulia Sviridenko, First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy of Ukraine, emphasized, Ukraine's sovereignty cannot be compromised. On the very day that President Zelensky and President Trump met, Russia declared that it had recaptured the Kursk region that had been occupied by Ukrainian forces. President Putin mocked Ukraine, saying, "Kiev's adventure in Kursk was a complete failure." Therefore, it is still unclear whether this meeting will be a turning point in resolving the conflict between the two countries, or the beginning of another round of diplomatic tensions.
Zelensky and Trump meet at a symbolic funeral. Attention is being paid to whether this meeting could become a new turning point in the Ukraine war.